Coming up tonight on Fifth Third Business Beat, a major riverfront development project in northern Kentucky is on track and winning support from the community. A man who makes his living in advertising says now is the time to add other businesses to his portfolio. Social networking sites can create a web of problems for businesses. Business Courier editor Rob Dahlmeyer looks at the effect of GM's bankruptcy on local dealers. It still looks like a church on the outside, but when developers finish with it, it will look like this on the inside. Career consultant and author Andrea Kaye shares advice with Crystal Faulkner about how to succeed when looking for a job. The managing director for Fountain Square, Bill Donabedian, tells us about free events on the square this summer. Fifth Third Chief Investment Strategist John Augustine sums up this week's economic events. And Henry Fisher, CEO of Fisher Group, joins Doug Bolton for this week's Publishers Beat.
Fifth Third Business Beat is brought to you in part by Fifth Third Bank and Cincinnati Bell.
Hello, I'm Brian Patrick. Welcome to Fifth Third Business Beat for Friday, June 5th, 2009. On page one of the Business Courier this week, connecting northern Kentucky's river cities with an expensive and expanded development project. Plans for riverfront commons are moving forward despite the weak economy. The project was first proposed several years ago by South Bank Partners. It now includes the Licking River Greenway and Trails project that was proposed by Vision 2015. The expanded project would repair erosion problems along both the Ohio and Licking riverfronts, build walkways and bike paths along both rivers, and build a tram connecting Devou Park with Mainstrasse Village.
When we look at other parts of the country who've made similar investments, if you invest millions, you get billions back, and that'll happen here as well. Plus, it'll improve the quality of life for everybody in northern Kentucky and greater Cincinnati.
Riverfront Commons has already received federal funds that paid for a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers study to examine the scope of the project and decide how to address erosion problems along the riverfront. The project has the support of a number of business and government leaders. A Cincinnati advertising executive is growing his business by making acquisitions, some in his field, some not. Kim Sharp and his Focus FGW agency have landed 6 new business awards since January, worth a combined $5 million in revenue. Now he's looking at buying a car dealership in Alabama and at 2 potential deals involving HVAC companies in Ohio.
We're looking at acquiring 1 to 2 companies, and I think the impetus behind acquiring companies in today's economic environment is, in many ways, everything in America is on sale. Whether it's property, stocks and bonds, businesses, it's a great opportunity in our lifetime to build some, quite frankly, personal wealth.
Acquisitions over the last 4 years allowed Sharp to pull together agencies with expertise in data mining, direct marketing, traditional advertising, and brand strategy. Many companies have pages on social networking sites, but some businesses are filing lawsuits over what's been posted by employees on those sites. Many companies have very general internet policies that are more about defining which sites are inappropriate to visit rather than behavior once a person is online. Lawyers say companies need to take some preemptive steps in order to protect their images and intellectual property. First, they need to know the terms and conditions of the websites.
Every website should have what's known as a Digital Millennium Copyright Act takedown policy. And that's where you can go on the website and say, someone is using my copyrighted image, my copyrighted video, my copyrighted sound, and I want you to take it down. And YouTube is the best example of this.
And if you think only a select few will be able to read your postings online, think again.
Some people also think by setting their privacy settings that they will prevent any potential discovery if there is a dispute between the employer and employee down the road. But simply setting a Facebook at a private setting does not protect it.
Attorneys also warn that everything online is traceable and time-stamped. General Motors dominated the news this week when it filed for bankruptcy. Business Courier editor Rob Dahlmeyer joins us to talk about a story by Lisa Fazig in the Business Courier this week on the effect on local dealers. Do we know how many local dealers are affected?
No, we don't, and that's actually the biggest difference between these closings or these planned closings and what Chrysler did a while back. Chrysler came out and made an announcement. They told everybody what was going to happen. GM decided that was going to be up to the individual dealers. They're going to have to make the decision when to be public about it. Now, all the dealers that are going to be closed have received letters. The reason that GM's doing this is they feel like it would hurt sales. If somebody knows that a dealership's going to go out of business, it's going to hurt them even worse than that. Now, I should also caution you on one thing. Going out of business is probably not the right word. They're losing their ability to sell new GM cars. That's what they're losing.
Let's clarify. You can't just start a dealership. Don't you have to be licensed by General Motors?
That's exactly right, and that's what GM is going to pull from a certain amount of dealers, that license. They can still stay in business, they can sell used cars, they can try to negotiate license deals with other manufacturers, but they can't sell GM cars, and that's essentially Chevy, Pontiac, Buick, GMC, and then Cadillac and some of the other smaller brands like Saab, Saturn, etc.
Some of these dealerships have been around for a long time, haven't they?
We have about 35 GM dealerships in Greater Cincinnati. That includes all 3 states. The big ones, the ones that we see as doing well because they've been selling so many cars all along, are the Weilers, all of their dealerships, the Josephs, most of their dealerships, the Sweeneys, most Sweeney dealerships are doing fine. But if you look down the list, and you can look at it in our paper this week, of how many cars they've sold through 2009 so far through April, there are some dealers that have not sold more than 100 cars. And GM has said that the dealerships they're going to close are the small ones.
And many of those family-owned for a long time.
There are also many of those are in parts of town that don't have a lot of other things going on. For instance, smaller towns outside the cities or in neighborhoods that maybe haven't done quite as well over the years, where the car dealership is still the anchor of some of these neighborhoods. We'll see. A lot of the ones that are doing fine are the ones up at the King's Auto Mall or these huge strip centers in Coleraine, things like that. Those seem to be doing fine. It's the ones that are by themselves, sort of off the beaten path, that we're hearing may be in trouble.
So, Rob, a dealership loses its license. What happens to the existing inventory?
That's a good question. What they have to do is either they can sell it off to other dealers that are going to stay open. GM will also cut deals to try to buy some stuff back from them. When I say stuff, I mean parts, cars, etc., tires. But really what they're going to try to do is get rid of it all before they close. I mean, when they have a going out of business sale, it should be a soup to nuts kind of a sale. They're trying to clear everything out so that they're not sitting on too much inventory after the lights are turned out.
In Lisa's researching of this story, were any of the GM dealers willing to talk about this?
You know, we talked to many of them. The ones that said they were okay talked to us. The ones that said, I haven't gotten a letter and we're open for business, talked to us. A couple had no comment, which you can take, take to mean what you want. But there are going to be some closings, and these are big businesses. If you drive around the city, you know, these have a big footprint. All dealerships have a big footprint. They have a lot of employees. They're fairly big businesses just because what they sell is very expensive. They do a lot of advertising, so their names are in the public consciousness a lot. You being in TV, you know, they're big TV advertisers. It's going to be a big change in just the dynamic of Cincinnati, just like it did when Chrysler announced their closings.
General Motors is the American car company.
Yeah.
To see this happen, really the whole face of car dealerships has changed forever with this.
Absolutely. You know, it was a pretty low margin business for a lot of what they sold. SUVs are a great margin business. Cadillacs are a great margin business, but some of these other cars just aren't. And with the internet and with the fact that you can get information anywhere, a lot of people are arguing that the dealers aren't necessarily the best way to sell cars anyway. But you're right. Regardless of what happens with these closings, the whole game is going to change.
Thanks, Rob Dahlmeyer. Be sure to read Lisa Fazig's story on page 4 of this week's Business Courier. Now here's the Courier Greater Cincinnati Stock Index. We tracked the performance of about 40 local stocks compared with the broader market using the Dow Jones Wilshire 5000 Index. It was another big week for stocks. The local stock index jumped about 5.1%, while the overall market soared 6.6%.